Joining me now is the Chief Operating Officer, Automedics Limited. Bola Oba is here in the studio. Bola, it's nice to have you.
It's good to be here.
You're welcome. The last time we spoke, you were in London.
That's ancient history now.
All right. Now, Nigeria spends about $8 billion every year importing used vehicles from all over the world into this country, and we have a policy, the automotive policy in Nigeria. One of the prescription is that there will be the reduction of used vehicles from parts of the world.
Importation of used
yes.
vehicles.
How much of concern is this?
It should concern anybody that we're spending that enormous amount of money, $8 billion annually, to import other people's scrap. It should
exactly. That's what it is.
It should naturally concern anybody. I know that the incumbent Director General of the National Automotive Design and Development Council, NADDC, Engineer Jelani Aliu, is very determined. You know, I have related with him a couple of times directly, and I know he's very determined to make sure that the national automotive policy is implemented to the letter. Is indeed striving, encouraging legislators, the members of the National Assembly, to make sure that the national automotive policy becomes the national automotive law through the passage of the bill, because he's convinced that the president is quite predisposed to making sure that, one, vehicles to be sold in Nigeria meets minimum standard. Some may not know that some vehicles will bring, that some known dealers bring to Nigeria, that they don't have basic safety measures, like the airbag. A company is selling vehicles in Nigeria without basic supplemental restraint system to protect people in case of accidents. It wants to make sure that we have an industrial infrastructure that will sustain local production of vehicles. So the NADDC is encouraging the development of laboratories in Zaria, material laboratory in Zaria, components laboratory in Enugu, emission laboratory in Lagos, making sure that the locally produced vehicles, when they are eventually produced, meets global standards. Is encouraging local content, addition to, so the National Automotive Development, Design and Development Council is actually encouraging giving low interest finance to local components manufacturers.
All right. Now,
my company is also involved. Automedics is one of the companies involved in the elaborate strategic training of skills manpower to make sure that the average roadside mechanic, the average person that works on the vehicle, is better skilled in automotive mechatronic skills.
All right. Now, this policy, this automotive policy that we're looking at, the bill that we want to make law, what difference would it make? What impacts specifically would it make to the industry?
Practically, it will encourage local employment opportunities for our people. Two, it will encourage investment promotion by globally known auto brands wanting to make sure that they have manufacturing or assembly plants within Nigeria. It will reduce the enormous amount of money that we use anyway to import dilapidated or environment polluting spent vehicular objects. It will also encourage employment and growth opportunity within our financial services and marketing industry.
Okay. All right. We look forward to greater days ahead with this right now. Bola Oba, thank you so much for coming on.
Always a pleasure to be on your set.
Right.
Except you be cheeky.
Nice.
Here with us, he's the CEO of the Chief Operating Officer of Automedics Limited. Good morning, Mr. Oba.
Pleasure to be on your set.
Talking about solving this critical industry, the automotive sector, of course. For you, what's your concern? Do you think these villages will help?
Oh, they will help in many respects. They will help in creating employment opportunities for our people. through the enhancement of skills. They will help as regards improving the local content that we had into the average automobile that we ride. The National Automotive Design and Development Council under Jelani Ali has increased the ability to build local infrastructure, industrial infrastructure.
So we have it.
To enhance, they're trying. They're investing in some of these things. The labs are being built now. The material laboratory in Zaria, the components laboratory in Enugu, the emission laboratory in Lagos. Investments are on this. They are buying state-of-the-art automotive mechatronics equipment and tools for tertiary institutions.
Right. Allow me to cut in, Mr. Oba. Then there are still challenges. Watchers of the industry say this revenue generation bid of the government could also have an effect, so to speak, or an impact on the lingering challenges in the sector. There does seem to be like, what is the government trying to achieve really?
The simplest, putting it in a very simple language, the government is trying to make sure that the 8 billion naira we averagely spend annually to import used vehicles, that money is spent locally by people to buy new vehicles made with the involvement of Nigerian workers, and indeed that would ultimately lead to increase in our gross domestic product.
Or is it working?
It does seem to be working as regards human capital development now, because one of the reasons why I accepted this invitation this morning is because I know that practically as we speak today, this morning, the federal government of Nigeria, through the program of the presidency, Empower program, in conjunction with the National Automotive Design and Development Council, these two entities are sponsoring the training of 5,000 young graduates and school leavers in acquiring automotive mechatronic maintenance and repair competencies. So, and my company, Automotive, is one of the leading entities providing this training nationwide to 5,000 people.
All right. We wish you the best then, Bola Oba. Many thanks for your analysis of the situation.
Joining me right now is the Chief Operating Officer, Automedics Limited, Bola Oba. It's nice to have you join me right now.
It's good to be on the set once again.
Well, now, Nigeria in the 70s and 80s and then part of the 90s, we had the popular Volkswagen, we had the Pan, we had an Namco, we had several other car assemblage plants in Nigeria. What is new about this new policy coming up right now?
What is new is indeed the very reason why the incumbent Director General of the National Automotive Design and Development Council, Jelani Aliu, is very vehement and evangelical about the government codifying a body of policies and rules in legislation. The reason is that, let me give you a brief history of how we got to where we got. There was Leland in Ibadan, when there was Volkswagen in Lagos, Anamco in Enugu, Stay in Bauchi. The Nigerian police ordered 300 units of Leland products. So Leland in Ibadan brought in CKD, completely knocked down parts, to assemble 300 units. You know what happened? The newly appointed minister then went to Leland in England, he imported 300 complete trucks. It meant that the 300 imported, completely knocked down parts that could have given jobs or kept the jobs of those who were working on the assembly plants in Ibadan, and from whence they could have gotten money, that would trickle down, multiply effect
And
in the
keep
system.
and keep the company going.
Because of policy somersault, the company had to close down in Ibadan. And the benefit was to the greater economic advantage. So what Jelani Aliyu is fighting for now, or agitating for, is that we should have the National Automotive Industry Law. It is now a bill sitting on the table of Mr. President. He is one of the very evangelical voices.
All right.
Trying to
Sorry for. I know we have very little time, but when it comes to the demand of Nigerians, they have love for a lot of Korean, Japanese, Chinese cars from the East, from Asia, as the case may be. What impact would that have on that demand?
Let me quickly go back to the 70s again.
All right.
In the 70s, we used to take pride in buying new
Exactly.
vehicles. It became fashionable in the latter part of the 80s and the 90s that imported used vehicles because of currency fluctuations and whatever. What the National Automotive Policy is also trying to do now is to find low interest funding to help an average person wanting to buy a vehicle to get low interest fund to buy new vehicle instead of using money to import crabs.
Okay.
That's the difference. So we have to be systemic in fighting this problem, and we have to be systemic in finding a way to make sure that the large market that we have helps a sustainable way of producing local vehicles and making sure that our middle class is not the largest on the face of the earth riding unused vehicular objects.
All right. Well, but thank you very much for your effort as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for letting us know this.